Hola! Hello. This is technically not a tutorial, but it's going to be kind of dissecting how I do some of this motion and just giving general tips, because I don't know. I think people are starting to think that this is something complicated, and it's like, if you're just starting off in this animation system, if you've never touched MMD, if you've never touched any animation system, then yeah, it's gonna be a little complicated at first. Just because you gotta understand how animation works, and that takes a little bit of time and trial and error, lots of trial and error, so much. But that's basically how I animate too. It's a bunch of trial and error. But I'm not doing anything different than what most MMDers, like semi-experienced MMDers, do. And that's just basically using the interpolation curve. I know to use the interpolation curve, and then I have nice effects now because my computer can handle them. But other than that, that's really what makes my videos flashy. I mean, I understand the rule of thirds, but so does a lot of other people. The thing is, I think when people watch these, it's just like, oh, it's polished up really nice, but they kind of think that means, oh, she's so much better at MMD than everybody else, and it's like, no, not in the slightest, not at all. There are just certain things, there are certain personal things I like to focus on, like facial expressions, and I really appreciate that people like the amount of time I put into facial expressions, which actually don't take that long simply because I know what I want out of it, and I have had a lot of time working with the MMD facey foos, so I'm like, okay, I freaking get it, and Tita's really easy to work with. Yes, it's easy to work with. I don't like seeing it all the time, but, I mean, me personally, I do think it's a pretty face. I understand the appeal, and it is easy. Yeah, this is just going to be playing on repeat while I talk for a little bit, and then we'll actually start, like, looking at some things. And also, I apologize now for this being disorganized and whatnot. I don't write things beforehand. If I do tutorials, I might write down notes to make sure that I stay on point, but it's like, I don't talk well that way. No one's gonna want to listen to me if I'm talking off of a frickin' script like, hello, today we're gonna be talking about how to use the interpolation curve, critical. I dropped a magazine, I'm sorry. I love critical. Anyhow, sneeze. What was I saying? Oh, yes. The techniques I use are exactly the same as what everyone else does. It's just the interpolation curve. There's just two things. Like I said, one, facial expressions. And I am going to show you how I do facial expressions, because I do feel that it's something that people need to actually see and experiment with. It's kind of like painting. And I know, I don't mean that in like an overly pretentious, stupid way. I mean that literally by it takes a lot of mixing. You gotta mix a lot of these facials together, because if you just use like the eyebrow slider for sad, that doesn't look sad. That just looks like upside down U, and it looks dumb. It's like, because also a lot of the time when you're working with emotion, it's never just sad. It's like frustrated going into sadness, or just like a mix of anger and sad. And then sometimes it's like other sliders for opposite emotions will help exaggerate the pose that you have for the eyebrows at that point in time. And I'll show you what I mean about that in a minute. We're not there yet. We're not facials yet. But I was saying, one thing to focus on, facials, and then strong key posing. That's super important. And actually, we're going to pause this now, because a great example of that is some of this slow-mo nonsense, is something like this, where it's a so many effects. It's a very, very exaggerated pose. You can see the movement in it, you can see how much their spine is bending, and it's really exaggerated. Now, note, I'll tell you right now, I looked up a reference for this pose, because like, I don't know action poses, so you look up a reference. it's so important to look at references. It's so important to observe. A lot of these motions earlier on in this video, with these two, not sneeze because his hands are in his pockets, so it's like super easy just to make him sway and kind of waddle a little bit. But as for car stupid face here, I made like a lot of these I did these motions myself. Like in real life before I animated them, I was kind of swinging my body back and forth and trying to see how it felt, because I'm used to looking at how I move and then trying to translate it into animation. And that's something you should always do. You should try to act things out yourself. And if you don't feel comfortable trying to read yourself when you act things out, look at motion. Look at great animation. Look at how people actually move. It's super important to translate like anything. Especially the hardest motion other than the stupid flip, the slow-mo flip, which was the hardest. I hated it with a passion. Where is it? I got too far. Here, this freaking knife swing. This took way too long. It took a couple hours to really sort it out. And at some points I used the interpolation curve, and other points I didn't. It was, I don't want to say a nightmare, because it wasn't a nightmare, but it was not fun at points. And at first I thought, oh god, this motion is not going to work at all. Because it's complicated. You have a lot of bones twisting in here. And if you try to do that motion yourself, it's super helpful, because I wouldn't have been able to do this unless I acted it out myself and saw how and when my wrist actually flipped. Because it flips. You know, you're twisting your forearm like almost pretty much as far as it goes. And then, oopsie, what did I do? No, I went back to the beginning. You're twisting your forearm pretty much as far as it goes, and then you immediately twist it back. So there's just a lot of movement, and it needs to be in sync with the wrist, and it's not easy. Acting it out yourself can be very important. This was not fun, because it still doesn't look good in slow-mo either, if I slow it down to showing you frame by frame, because the wrist does not turn smoothly at all. It's not broken, at least, though, because you gotta go all the way around. Twist, break that wrist! It was not, my point was, it wasn't fun, but it's like, I'm just trying to tell you the value of acting things out, because I wouldn't be able to do any of these motions unless I did. This whole thing. Oh my god. And I guess, I mean, I was talking about facial expressions. I'll show you about the facial expressions, especially at the beginning, because those are when some of the strongest ones come in from both of them. It's weak at the beginning, though, right there. I hate it. We're talking about facial expressions. Oh, we have the facials open right now, so you can actually see, close arms, get out of here. Close body, get out of here. Okay. Oh, you can see all this junk. Now, not to worry too much, because this part in here, this junk, all that, this junk in the middle here is the mouth movements. So the mouth movements are a thing like on their own, and very, very important. But when it comes to like the eyes and eyebrows, the eye movements up here, and the eyebrow motion is, oh damn it, is below here, down here, with like the whole sad, angry, cheerful, down nonsense. No matter what, it's a lot of points. It looks intimidating. It looks like a lot of information. It's not as complicated as you may think, as it like looks, because each of these points is just registering the movement, well, not the movement, the slider, at the very beginning, then how much and when it opens, and then when it closes, and then you register it again. So you have you have a little curve going. Let's find something that actually, what do you open here? Do you open 8? Okay, the 98 here, which is ooh, because none of these are labeled because I hate life. Anyhow, as you can see here, there 98 is like a little ooh motion. So I registered it when it, the slider's all the way at 0, so if, you know, it looks like nothing's happening because nothing is. Move forward a couple frames here. And it's in almost full effect, not all the way. Because if I go any further, as you can see, it clips! Isn't that lovely? Because it's not. Anyhow, so we press register, and then we move on to frame 30, we turn it off and we register. But, you know, you have to be listening to you gotta be listening to the audio, and the way that you do that is like by pressing play wave with frame, and then you listen and you adjust. You listen and you adjust. You listen and you adjust. Because, you know, if they're going, wah, you want an A. You want an A syllable slider. Or on Tita, because I like it, the No 105, which is, I don't know, when it's actually translated properly, it's like happy mouth or something. It's a wide happy mouth, and it's a great facial expression. I love it. As you can see, if you put out too much, it clips as well, but it's great, and I used it a lot in this video because I like big expressive mouths, because what's the fun of having a tiny stupid Miku Hatsune diva mouth? It's useless. I'm sorry. it's like one of the things I hate about so many MMD models, and why I end up still using, you know, things with like Tita edits with the Tita face still intact, is the fact that these Tita is at least it can be extremely expressive, because of the ginormous eyes, ginormous pupils, big thick freaking eyelashes, and a giant mouth. I mean, it's a giant mouth in comparison to every other MMD model on the planet. It's great. It's great for that. What was my point? Oh yes, blending. We're talking about how we blend facials. So, we gotta move someplace here. We gotta, God, I don't know where we're gonna use it. We're gonna do something here where car isn't doing anything. Let's set some of these back. We have surprise on. We have, now, actually, you should look at how many different facials I have on at once. I have a surprise, I have doubt, I have, oh, I don't have smile on? No! I have one of the winks on. Yep, I have one wink on because this eye is closed slightly more than the other. Just to give it a little bit more of a natural look. And then this eyebrow is lower than the other. And for the eyebrows, how far down they are. I have a little bit of sad in there. I got a lot of down. I got a lot of angry. And we got some serious in there. And like I already said, sad. Do we have any cheerful? No, cheerful comes in later. But we have almost like we have like half of these different slider emotions on for one expression. Because if I take out serious, and if I take out sad, and if I just slide up angry a bit more, that's a pretty lame eyebrow expression because there's nothing to it. It just looks like the normal eyebrows being tilted forward, and I don't want that. I want a bend in them. I want a bend in there because it looks nice, so I toy around to see what makes it bend, and sad makes it bend, but if you bend it too much, it really looks sad, so you don't want it too much. You lighten that up a bit, and then you say, oh, serious kind of really makes like the center go down and make him angry, and I'm like, oh, that's nice, put that in there a little bit, but not too much, because if you do that and you start clipping over these little marks, it looks stupid. Eyebrows don't touch eyelashes unless you really want to exaggerate something, but we're not doing that. Just don't do that. Don't let eyebrows touch eyelashes. It looks stupid. 90% of the time it looks stupid. Don't do that. Anyhow, and then every once in a while, if you want to get If you want to get really angry and really kind of cool, put in those wrinkles that I adore. I adore them. But they also can look stupid if they're a little too close together because you have too many of these sliders on, like serious, and then this starts falling apart on you. But, I mean, look, we're already breaking the rule of eyebrows touching eyelashes, so, you know, you can't do that because that's a rule of thumb. You break that rule, you make Puka sad. You make Puka really sad, probably mad. Also, when... See, these are just random things. I can't really call this a tutorial. These are just some tips. Some nonsensical MMD babble. When you're, like, opening and closing eyes a bit, you know, you widen that up, you widen, that's not widening, we widen the eyes or close them a bit. Be sure to always be messing with the size of the eye, because you don't really have control of pupils, because they don't really have pupils, because that's just not the style of this model's freaking eyes. And actually, most MMD models won't give you control of actual black pupils. They'll just give you control of the eye. So it's supposed to be like an illusion of, like, pupil dilation, which is nice. It's very nice. So, if you're thinking about this like a pupil with dilation, when you close your eye, the pupils, I don't know what the opposite of dilation is. They get bigger, basically. Because they're not absorbing light anymore. So, I don't always do it. This is a rule, this is a good rule just when it comes to blinking and jump, but I don't always do it just because. Do it, though. Do as I say, not as I do. A good thing to do is to make those, as it's closing, make those pupils just a bit bigger. They don't have to be a lot bigger, but just a bit bigger. And then when they open back up, they can shrink back up, and then they kind of bounce back. Did I do that there? I did! I did! So it's smaller, and then it gets bigger. It's hard to tell. If we follow the head bone, maybe it won't be as difficult to tell. I don't know if you can see that, but the pupil is getting bigger at the end of this motion here. It's slight, but trust me, you can tell. You can tell as the animator at the end of the day, and the audience, which is you guys, you'll take in that information, but you won't really register it. It's just good polish. It's just good polish. I don't know how else to describe it, to be honest. And then there are certain things that are, this is so hard for me to explain, because I've never said any of this crap out loud before, really. It's just, I've been calculating all this junk in my head for a couple years, so I'm like, okay, this is what I do here, this is what I do here, I always do this, don't forget that, but that's all going on in my brain. So it's like, people are like asking, hey, how do you do this? I'm like, shit if I know. It's like, I don't know. I just do. And also, there's another rule of thumb that I follow, and it's called the rule of cool. The rule of cool. And now you have to be really honest with the rule of cool. You can't just conceptually, you can't go with the rule of cool conceptually. You have to execute it. You have to execute the rule of cool, and I'm going to explain that. Rule of cool is, if it looks cool, and if it makes enough sense, but still mostly, if it looks cool, freaking do it. If it makes you happy as the animator, and it looks cool, do it. Because that's how this whole video came about. It was like, oh, this is freaking, firstly, the song, that's cool. I want to make something cool go along with that. And then I thought, oh, slow-mo's cool. And big lights coming out of Mr. Sneeze is cool. And so I followed the rule of cool. And just put in things that I thought looked cool. Because at first that light wasn't there. I wasn't even planning to have the big God's Ray marching light behind him from Beam Man. And it was just going to be the crazy bones going everywhere. And I was like, wait a minute. What if I just put a light back there? And then I was like, whoa, that looks awesome. And that's the rule of cool in effect, okay? And what was I saying here? Oh yeah, the rule of cool also applied to this little thing with like the little determination shiny shines coming up in her eyeballs. His, her, you know, whatever the fuck, some gender neutral thing. They, I don't care. This one, this model has boobs. So I usually call her her, but I don't care. You, some of you care, and I don't care that you care. Because you can see them however you want. Anyhow, this was like a last minute thing. This was the sparkle, absolute last minute thing. Because at first it just looked like this, and I was like, yeah, the pupils get really tiny, and they do their little thing, and then they get big again, to put emphasis on like the one, on the future part of future, but then I was like, wait a minute. Firstly. I like it when junk goes in her eyes. And I was like, that looks cool. And I followed the rule of cool, but then also I made my own logic for it. Well, I'm like, she's talking about future, and I don't know, the weird, you know, the sparkle looks like determination save point thingamajiggy, so I'm like, has something to do with time, right? And time has to do with future, so I put in the sparklies. This is how my logic works in my brain. Usually I put in something just because I like how it looks, and then I come up with like a reason for it later. So it's kind of bullshit, but I don't care because it looks cool. And also, I don't know if you guys noticed that during this scene, their eyes go black because I thought it looked cool and that you can barely see it. I like doing junk like that to you people. You gotta look at my animations to see things like this. Holy moly. And the reason I think most of you, I hope, I don't know if you'd know, but I made it clear that the reason why I didn't want to do a full version of this is mostly because it's it's too similar to 2 other projects I've already done, and there's only so many things I can do in this cramped freaking hallway. Not criticizing the hallway size or anything, I love this stage with a passion, but I mean, there's only so many things I can do, and I've literally taken the structure apart. I've done that in these videos. What else do you want from me? Honestly, that's the reason why the whole like monochrome effect and the grayscale filters over all this stuff, because like it's all looking way too similar to my other projects. If I take off the monochrome effect from all these things, it looks just like Stronger Than You, and I hate it. I hate it with like a real passion. Because what's the fun in that? Like, there's no fun in doing the same project over and over and over and over for me. And I don't learn anything then. Like, you don't learn anything from doing the same freaking fight over and over. It's like, now I'm ranting, but I mean, it's true. It's really true. Is there something else I have on here? I don't know. There is, but I'm just gonna let it. It's gonna. Oh, wait a minute. I think I have a couple effects going on. HDR is on here somewhere, I know, but I know self overlay is a bit too much. There's the HDR. It's the HDR that was doing it. And so it's like, what's making this so special apart from freaking Stronger Than You, when you look at it like this? It's just boring to me. I mean, like, I like the concepts that I messed around with this, and it was like the whole slow-mo thing, but I was desperate to find something different to do in here. Which is why I kind of went effects crazy instead of, like, motion crazy. Because by my standards, the motion, the main motion that wasn't slow-mo, the slow-mo was hard. Just the flip, though, really, because that's all there is. It's really just the flip that was annoying. Everything else was just like one pose and then moving it a little bit, and that was fine. But the other motion at the beginning half of the video, that was all pretty simple stuff, and it only took a couple days. It was the effects and the slow-mo stuff that took a little bit longer, which made it go to a frickin' week for me to be working on this crap. What was my point? I don't know if I had a point anymore, guys. I'm sorry. I screwed something up. Oh wait, no, I turned off HDR. I turned off the monochrome thing. I turned off Soho overlay. I know that a lot of you can't really spare effects because, you know, MMD is brutal on computers because it basically, it you know, renders all the textures and everything while you're working, which is like, it's just hard on a processor. So if you can only use like so many effects, like 1 or 2 or 3, you definitely keep an effect like self overlay in mind. It gives a lot of nice depth. Think of use dust. I love dust. It gives a sense of space. It's lovely. And other than that, I don't think there are many effects in here that you can use other than like something like clone. And the monochrome effect is fine. That's not bad or anything. But then they just, you know, they start like piling up. So I'm just trying to give essential ones. Self-overlay is definitely great. True Camera. True Camera LX, is it called? LX, is it called? True Camera? Yes, True Camera LX. If your computer can handle it. Really, really, really great substitution for motion blur. Because motion blur is such a bulky freaking effect. Like, I remember when I was using a different, I was using a different, like, render setting or whatever, but still, it took a file that was, like a third of a gigabyte, and it raised it to 2 gigabytes. It is bulky! I think I'm exaggerating a bit, but still, it took it from under a gig to over a gig, and I was just like, stop. It was just, motion blur is a beast. In the worst way. What do you call it? Why am I hearing this music? I thought I didn't have my speaker on, but I guess I did this whole time. I'm sorry. What do you call it? The God's Ray Marching, the lighting effect I use in here, is an actual beast. Like, it's amazing. It's fantastic, but it is heavy. It's one of the heaviest effects I've ever used. If not the heaviest. Because we're gonna skip to this part. That effect is right here, I believe. Now look at Mr. Frame Rate here. Look at Mr. Frame Rate. I'm gonna turn it off. It just jumped up 30 frames. Oh my god, almost 30 frames. It is redonkulous. It is a heavy effect. See, I can do this. I can do this with that effect off. But with it back on, freaking, it's... I can't. It's so laggy. Oh yeah, and the other effect I'm using here is Kita Kita. I mean, like, you guys can see, you can pause and see the list of effects I'm using here. It's just, you know, heavy junk. I don't think there's too much more I can really say for general advice. Oh, it burns. For general advice other than... For intermediate advice, I guess, is what this is turned into. Other than keep moving those bones, like the interpolation curve, uber important, and you can look up easy tutorials for that on either learnmd.com or from... I believe one of my wives have done tutorials for the interpolation curve. I think Wishuponacrane. Firstly, both my wife Wishuponacrane and MagicalPouchofMagic, my MMD wives, they both have great tutorials for random amazing junk in MMD, and they're super helpful. And even I still use some of them today. And so go check out their channels and go check out their tutorials. Just go check them out because they're lovely and they make awesome motion and I love them. So yeah, tutorials for the interpolation curve, which honestly, I'm probably gonna do that really soon. I almost feel like doing it tonight in a separate video because, you know, I'm here, I'm yelling at you guys. So yeah, I mean, just keep moving those bones, people. Keep moving those bones. That's Puka's advice to you. Keep moving them bones. Keep moving them bones, because never not move a bone always, oh, it burns. Always make a facial expression, please, 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 because that's half of like the communication in your animation is the facial expression, and then body language. And body language is tough, and that takes time, but facial expressions, you can fiddle around with that a little easier. None of it's, quote unquote easy. It takes time, it takes practice, it takes effort, but it can be loads of fun. And listen, I'll tell you the way I learned. I watched a bunch of animations and I was like, wow, some of these guys, you make their eyes so freaking big, and I try to get as close as I possibly can to replicating some like facial expressions that I really like within this extremely limiting, poorly rigged system of an animation system. I'm being a little harsh now, because this system does not give you much freedom when it comes to moving the face, and I hate it. It gives you sliders. Woo, sliders. If I was in Maya with a well-rigged model, I'd be able to frickin' rip their face apart, okay? I'd be able to make it the size of a mountain if I chose. Can't do that here. You move it a quarter of an inch and it clips. Quarter of an inch and it clips. Also, their neck's a little broken, but don't pay attention to that because it pisses me off every day. But yeah, it's a little limiting. But those are just my pet peeves with this system. But that's for another video. My real pet peeves with this system is for another video, another day. Another day. There's only us. Look at that reflection. It's in color. Or life is yours to miss. No, okay, no more rent. Hello, broken neck char. Oh yeah, like, to exaggerate some of these poses, well, I guess is one other thing I'm gonna say. To exaggerate some of these poses, I come really close to, like, breaking, I'm sorry, breaking their bones really bad. But because it only lasts for, like, about one frame or so, it's hard to tell, and it doesn't look terrible. Just keep moving them bones. Download a hand pose pack and always move fingers. Fingers always should be posed in one way or another, because it's painfully obvious when they're in their just freaking neutral pose, and it's just annoying and distracting, and it can really make or break a pose. Usually break if you don't pose it. But I use a pack. I use a pack and then edit the poses, the hand poses if I need to. But I use a Pac-Man. I just go and I say, load in pose data. Here are all the hands. Here are all the hand poses. And it's great. God, don't look at me like that. So yeah. Those are general, you just got general how to MMD tips. I don't even know, man. I can't even call it that. This is why I can't do tutorials. I can't teach. So yeah, this was fun. I got the Black Rock Shooter freaking weird flame thing for Sans eye, but it was originally made for like Black Rock Shooter junk, because it's exactly what it is. And I was like, oh, I want fire on his eye. Yay. And luckily someone made that effect, because my god, I was messing around with self-burning for so long, I was getting so angry. And then I found out, hey, someone already just made this exactly the way that I needed it, so I didn't have to actually edit the effect. So I'm like, yay. Anyhow, that's it. I might make another tutorial video, not another, but a tutorial video tonight. Maybe, maybe not. We will see. Please tell me what you thought of this in the comments, really, because I don't want to bore you all with this, with my ramblings and so on and so forth. But I just wanted to share some things and just a little bit of my process, I guess. And I guess that's what I did, is share some of my working process. Listen to JonTron while you work, if it doesn't distract you. But listen to JonTron while you work, because God, it brings out good junk. JonTron's an inspiration. Oh my god. Also, last thing, I promise this time. is that I'll leave a link for my DeviantArt in the description, and if I don't, yell at me because I should have done that, but I forget to link things a lot in the description. I'll link my DeviantArt in the description because, one, a lot of you don't know that I have one, but it's for good reason because I almost never use it. But I have now. All of you keep screaming, hey, I want a wallpaper of this! And so I said, okay. And I made a wallpaper of this. I made a wallpaper of like 7 other things from like Stronger Than You. There's like 2 from this project and then a bunch other from Stronger Than You. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. It's your decision, but I just wanted to make some nice renders of those for you guys in case you really wanted them, because it sounds like a lot of people really did, so I felt bad, and I was like, okay, let's just change it to the 1920 by 1080 instead of the weird resolution I use, and put them out for people. So that's what they are. They're 1920 by 1080 because I can't like deal with other resolution sizes. If there are enough people that want them in like weird full screen sizes that aren't full HD or something, let me know and I'll make a couple of them too. But in the meantime, thank you so much for listening to my babble. And tell me if this was terrible, please, because I can see how it would be terrible. I love you all.